What's up, my nerds? No, that's not good enough. What's up, my nerds? All right, it is the time for episode 4, season 3 of the Nerd Alert podcast. I thank you again for joining me, your host, Jay to the Chico, and continuing this ride with me. Appreciate it. This week, we are going to be discussing just a handful of things here. Recently wrapped up the Caped Crusader animated series on Prime. That, of course, is the new Batman cartoon and experience that launched 2 weeks ago. I pretty much jumped on that right off the bat, not gonna lie. Give you guys a quick review on the other socials. This will be a full out one. Also going to talk about Umbrella Academy and their 4th and final season. And the highlight of the week, the main highlight of the week, and probably the month and one of the year. I can't say it is the year, but Alien Romulus. Man, can't wait to talk about that. And of course, we've got our news, some comic stuff in there in the mix. I thank you again, and I say let's get it going. Let's go. All right, so the Caped Crusader, Batman. The Caped Crusader, to be quite exact, on Amazon Prime. We kind of take a step back into the world of Bruce Timm, but not quite, right? So we got a new animated series from the mind of Bruce Timm and producer Matt Reeves with a great all-star cast. Artist Linklater. I always fucking butcher his name. Linklater is our Batman Bruce. We've also got Diedrich Bader. If you know who he is, you know who he is. He was one of our Batman actually, it's part of the Batman legacy. He voiced the Caped Crusader in Batman Brave and the Bold. Great iteration. We also have Jamie Chung as Harley Quinn. McKenna Grace is on the staff. Minnie Driver. Christina Ricci. All-star voice cast. We're in year 2 of Batman's career, set in the 1940s. So we got a lot of the noir vibes going on. A lot more adult themes, not quite that mature level, but you know, no nudity, no anything expletive. After all, it is Batman, right? But the themes, even though the original series was mature for that time, like this is still up there. Like it's nice. But I enjoyed the series. I liked the familiarity of the Bruce Timm designs, as well as some of those old aspects from Batman in the animated series. I feel like the time kind of gets skewed with the original series because it seems like it's in the same time period, but then they've got a lot of modern tech in there, and then all of a sudden it just becomes modernized without like any kind of explanation or anything, right? But this one doesn't. So I like seeing Batman in the element. I like seeing his detective side take over and be the focus of his abilities. The reason why I really loved the Batman with Robert Pattinson, like I dug that he was same phase. Had some toys, but he wasn't relying on it. He was relying more on his detective. There was more of the noir. There's more of the man in the shadows, and that's what I dig. Batman should be a myth. He should be someone that you're fearing and not really knowing whether he exists or not. Not on the limelight. The bat signal's cool and all, but really just an urban legend to scare the shit out of criminals and get shit done at the same time. I've always loved that. I've always liked that aspect. And again, the detective stuff. So I liked that the gadgets were pulled back. He had the Batmobile, and that's about the extent. And a very low grade, like not even a Batman computer because it was just a map, but like really low tech. It's 10 episodes long. They're about half an hour each. The season was great. There's no like continuing storyline. Each episode is its own thing, but we get introduced to some cool characters. Christina Ricci as Catwoman was great. Seeing this iteration of her as a rich girl, no longer rich, needing to find a way to make, to substantiate her living or lifestyle. Especially because Catwoman, and she jumps on that. One of the biggest turnarounds, and one of my favorites, was actually seeing Penguin as a female character. So that gender swap really worked. A mob queen was fucking dope as shit. Minnie Driver killed it in the role. And all in all, I feel like it elevated that character and actually turned into a woman. I know people will fucking bitch and moan about gender swaps all day long. Most of the time they don't work, let's be honest. But this time it did, and I really liked it. Another great episode that was a standout for me was Clayface. I always liked the Clayface character, especially in the animated series. He had some of the most tragic episodes. I mean, really pulled at the heartstring. This one wasn't too far off either. We get Barlow, um, Karloff as our Clayface in this iteration, and it's really dark, um, but captures the mood of the Clayface character. We get a really fucked up episode with Firefly. Like that one was really fucking dark. Yeah, that one was tough. Harley Quinn gets introduced in a different aspect without the Joker, which I really dug. Initially, I was kind of iffy about it, but I liked it. It was a more twisted version of the character. And I really liked that they just had no associations with the Joker. The design aspect as well fit for the times, looked great. Jamie Chung did fine with that one. And let's go back to the voice cast, right? Hamish killed it as Bruce Wayne, Batman. Whether that was his interpretation of Kevin Conroy or not, it sounded great. It was fitting. It was awesome. Loved the differentiation between the two. It was really reminiscent of Kevin. And yeah, like it was really nice. It was nice. It was dope. I'm fucking stuttering over here. Um, Barbara Gordon, James Gordon, like all our characters were on par of where they should have been. Onomatopoeia was a really cool little introduction character to be seen. Overall, I'm really happy with it. Now, on the flip side, we've got a season 2 and 3 that are already been greenlit. So we got an Easter egg at the end of the season. Spoiler alert. It's the Joker. I love the Joker. I'm a fan of the Joker. I feel like we just use the Joker too much, fucking too much, too much. Same way as Wolverine's overused with the X-Men. Like, just as much as Batman needs the Joker, Batman also doesn't need to have the Joker there all the time. Like, he's got such a great rogues gallery. Um, and you can clearly make a lot of captivating episodes without him. But looks like season 2 is leading into our Joker. As we got introduced with Joker Venom with Harley's episode, he's clearly been testing it out behind the scenes, and he'll be seeing a lot more in season 2. But I'm really looking forward to it. I was able to binge this all within 2 days, spaced it out just because I wanted to kind of fully absorb the episodes and appreciate them, and I did. They dragged on a little bit, just a little bit, I feel at times, which kind of took away from things, but not much. I still give it a 4 out of 5. Um, and I highly recommend watching it. Check it out. You'll love it. And if you don't, sucks to suck. Really does. Mm. Bruh. Alien Romulus. Holy shit. One of the best sci-fi horror movies ever. I love this movie so damn much. The trailers had me like here already with high expectations, and those expectations were met and exceeded. And why shouldn't they be? Fede Alvarez is such a great director. That just how could he do wrong? The guy did Don't Breathe. He Evil Dead remakes. Like these movies are incredible. So, brief synopsis of the movie: it's right between Alien and Alien 2. We've got a ragtag group of kids that are living on a mining planet. They keep getting jacked around, promised this, they've got to do so much time on this mining planet, and then they're given a pass to go on and live on a better planet. But we're talking the corporation here doing what all corporations do in trying to minimize costs. Why not use synthetics? Why do they keep using humans for these mines and all these humans are dying? Why not? It's cheaper than fucking these expensive ass synthetics that we create. So, anyways, they come across the space station. They want to get some, they want to rob it, essentially get some cryo energy pods so that they can fuel their little rinky dinky ship. enough so they can make the night near exploration and get to one of these promised planets. Unknown to them, the space station had recently acquired the body of our Xenomorph that was launched into space at the end of Alien 1. They had already begun experiments, and those experiments went awry, and our fucking base is gone. Everybody on the base is dead, and has been forgotten, just left there. Because don't fuck with it. Like, it's just why. Just leave it alone. Um, and then all shit just breaks loose from there. Of course, it's not an easy trip. They're supposed to go in and out. Wrong. We got a great cast here. We've got Kaylee Spaney as Rain, our main heroine here. Um, I just saw her in Civil War. She's a great up and coming actress. Love it. Her and her brother Andy, played by David Johnson, who is a synthetic and such a diverse actor in this movie. Like, his range from in this movie are phenomenal. They fucking own every scene that they're in. Beautiful, beautiful acting from both of them. Isabella Merced is in here as well. For 23, this girl is like, she's making a name for herself. This chick started off as Dora, right, in the Dora Explorer movie. She's already been a part of major franchises. We're talking Transformers. I kind of don't want to mention this, but she's already in the Marvel world. She was in Madam Web. She's going to be in the upcoming Superman movie as Hawk Girl. Like, and now you're in the Alien franchise at 23, girl. Yeah, and then we've got some other actors, and they're all right as far as supporting actors. But yeah, they killed it in their roles. Isabella kind of got robbed. Like, she did all right. She needed some more screen time, but yeah, great movie, great visuals, great cinematography. So many jump scares in this movie. Like, I was expecting some scares, but there were people jumping around me left and right. There were some disturbing images, as there should be, but nothing graphic. Like, graphic, they all made sense. But what I loved about the movie was not only the vibes; it made you feel uncomfortable, intense, like you were waiting for some, like, you didn't know what was going to happen around the corner, which all of Fetty's movies do. You don't know what's lurking in the background. When we finally get introduced to the Xenomorph, same thing. Like, it's just lurking around, and you never see it until it's too late, and then you see it, and then you're jumping out of your fucking seat. But he's able to get a hold of you and make you, like, just nervous, and this, but also keep you captivated with his characters. These characters were great. The storyline, like, is awesome. Like, it made sense. They paid tribute to all of the movies. Like, had all the suspense of the original Alien movie. The action from Aliens 2 was in here as well. Like, first two acts were great. Act 3 fucking blew up like that. From there, it just escalates in such great ways. It just never lets down, never takes its foot off the gas pedal. It just keeps you entertained throughout the whole thing, keeps you engaged throughout the whole movie. But 1, 2 are honored. Freaking Alien 3 and Resurrection are honored. Like, you get the a hybrid, a much creepier, valid hybrid here, which pays honor to Prometheus and Covenant, because it looks like one of the engineers mixed with Xenomorph. Really cool tidbits here. So many Easter eggs are laid out throughout the movie. Like, you really have to look. And then one of the biggest ones was the return of Rook, our synthetic from. Anybody? Alien 1. I was kind of thinking it might be Bishop, but I feel like Bishop's been used and used. And I think Lance Henrik is passed away since. I think he passed away, didn't he? Or no? Oh, he's still alive. My bad, Lance. I didn't mean to die you. I don't know, alive you. But yes, Rook was a cool twist as far as Easter egg there. But yeah, it's really cool to see them, Fetty, honor and homage these movies and make them all part of canon. The only thing that's not really incorporated here are the Aliens versus Predator movies. I love those movies for the camp that they are, but those are the only ones that are left out. Um, some of the ideals that were played with in Prometheus and Covenant are readdressed in this movie. The black ooze from that, covering again what was thought to be a life bringing force turns out to be a death force to give birth to our xenomorphs, like all that. Um, but overall, fantastically filmed movie with a fantastic cast. Xenomorphs were done right. The practical use of um, fucking what am I trying to think here? CGI was used properly here, but practical effects were awesome. Like I know a lot of the xenomorphs were animated or automated, so that was cool to see them use live robotics and automations. And the CGI was beautiful when they used like when they were orbiting the planet and going to crash into those rings. That was just greatest imagery. Like it was so gorgeous. The score was on par. I mentioned Prometheus earlier. When they dropped the Easter eggs for that and they play the Prometheus theme song, like that just hits you too. Like there's just so many little vibes. I think the only thing I didn't like was at one point they forced an unnecessary quote, the "get away from her, you bitch" line that Sigourney Weaver's so famous for, right? Um, there's no way that could have made it back into that storyline. Like, given it's a sequel, the time lapse and the lack of interaction between characters like that one was forced. Not enough to kill it for me, but I think that was one of my only irks throughout the movie. Um, but from start to finish, yeah, it was great stuff. Kaylee did a great job of being our woman of the hour and really honoring and homaging Sigourney. Um, there were some visuals there that honored the first movie up until the very end. She did great, man. I'm really hoping we get another storyline from this. They kind of left it where there you can see the possibility of another sequel being added to the storyline, and even if there's not, that's fine because it fits perfectly with what's already happened between Alien and Aliens 2. So it can stand on its own all at about the same time, and I'm okay with that. And we can revisit after that, if anything. Let's talk to Neil. Let's see his proposal for the Aliens sequel that he developed that happens after Aliens 2. Right now is the time to do it, man. Do it. Um, I loved it. I fucking loved it. I can't wait to watch it again. And David Johnson, you deserve some kind of award, man. You killed it in this fucking movie. You really fucking killed it. Loved it. Oh. Ah. Umbrella Academy season 4, the final season. I feel like that should have been said more dramatically. Um, yeah, man. This wasn't it. It wasn't a way to end a show. It wasn't a way to end a series. Like it dropped the ball on so many levels. Quick rundown. It's 5 years later. The family has no powers. An event happens that brings them all together, and they have to save the world. And there's hijinks between here and there. It was entertaining in very few parts. The majority of our cast just kind of gets lost in the shuffle. One of my favorite standouts was always Klaus, and Klaus in this point has become a recovering addict, right? And it's made him lame. And I actually don't like that. I don't like that they make it seem like the only way Klaus is entertaining was when he was on his drugs and shit. And they should have been able to pop out of that bubble and show him for what he was, an entertaining fucker. And he gave us a couple laughs at the beginning, but once he falls off the wagon, he goes back to being Klaus that we were familiar with. But by that time, honestly, it's too late. Luther carries the hell out of the show from the very beginning of the series. He's now a fucking stripper at his place, and at this bar, and he strips during the day. Which, if you've been to a strip club, um, the daytime crowd is usually not the best. That's when they have the buffets out. And honestly, that's the reason you go. You go for the food. A lot of these strip joints have some great buffets during the day. So he's that day crowd stripper, which is ironic because dude, since he's lost his mask, is cut. He's fucking cut as shit. That dude's lame, but very entertaining. Very, very entertaining. he's squatting at the house and living there. Just it's funny. Allison is now a TV star, very mediocre. So her sacrifice and or wish at the very end of season three, or still it wasn't quite worth what it would. She thought it was going to be. Like the whole family still has resentment towards her, so they don't talk to her much. She doesn't want to associate with them because of that. Um, Her daughter Claire is now a teen and has a really close relationship with Klaus. Klaus is overbearing, not overbearing, but always watching over her in a very uncle way. So they've got a funny house dynamic, sort of. Uh, Diego and Lila now have some kids. They're married and they're living that life. He's a UPS driver with zero aim and zero patience. He has a couple of moments that are funny. Victor has their own bar up in Canada. The Canadians, not doing very well, like trying to tip the life, but doing shit in relationships. Looks like Ben is an asshole in prison. Got caught up into some crypto shit and got sent away for a bit. Comes out and he's living with Victor. Sorry, not Victor, with Luther. And that's something too. Like the season was short, like I said, from the normal 10 to 6, and you feel there's so much story that could have been told a little bit more, like getting a little bit more backstory regarding Ben's bullshit and hijinks. Like that's just kind of like overlooked and mentioned here and there, but like not really explored, and that could have helped his character a lot too. Who am I forgetting? I think that's all we have. Yeah. Oh, and 5. Sorry, 5. Duh. See, that's just my point. Like, it's just forgettable. He's now working for the CIA, using all that time and age and experience to use. He looks a little older, not by much, but he looks a little older than he used to. Which is right. Like he was a kid when the show started. He works for the CIA, doing undercover work. But yeah, like they just like they just rushed the story. So eventually, what's happening is we've got a cult rising in America. 5 becomes involved in it and trying to discover and figure out what's going on with this cult. Turns out Lila isn't just a housewife that she's portraying. She's actually working for the CIA also and on the same case. So they start bonding over that. And that is led by Nick Offerman and his lovely wife, Megan Mullally. And they're kind of quirky, unique, but even there's no backstory given to them. They're just aware of like throughout the seasons, our family's been fucking with the timeline, trying to correct these mistakes, and it just keep making matters worse, right? It started sprinkling through each timeline, so now there's ramifications, and they are aware of some event that's supposed to happen called a cleanse. They're trying to make sure it happens. So there's this huge cult. I mean, it's everywhere, including the CIA. But yeah, the little backstory regarding why they're in it, why they're leading would have been nice. The family gets their powers back, and then again, hijinks start happening from there. But it's just not enough to really carry the show. I feel like there's like very few hits, very few laughs. A running joke is like they keep calling Diego fat and just overweight and whatever. And then towards the end, he gets in a scene where he's fucking whooping the shit out of all the CIA agents, rips the shirt off. That dude's ripped as fuck too, man. He's cut. So that was kind of funny. But we end up having a showdown because it turns out with all the timeline adjustments, Ben has a counterpart that when they're linked together cause a reaction with their power sets and end up turning into a kaiju. That kaiju ends the bringer of the apocalypse, going to end the world. So they're supposed to stop it. 5 even goes so far as to go back in time and discovers that there's a subway system that lets you travel through the timeline, which is a cool interpretation of like time travel, right? Trying to fix the timeline. Lila mimics his powers and joins them at one point. They get stuck in time for like 5 years and in a really weird situation. Like I get it and I don't get it. So they're stuck in time and The whole episode is beautiful. It really is. When you're stuck in those circumstances, all you have is each other. So clearly the bond is going to grow. It's either going to just completely break apart or it's going to grow. I don't think there's a lot of gray area there. So if you've got no one else left and you're relying on this person, romantic feelings start happening. And that's what happens. They start developing romantic feelings for one another. And then, of course, they come back to regular time and they have to be like, I've got a husband here. That husband is your brother. It reminds me of like if you're a Friends fan, like when Joey and Rachel storyline happened, that made no sense. That's one of the biggest mistakes that show ever made was throwing those two together, and that's what this felt like. Like why? It was forced. It wasn't fleshed out. The ramifications of that whole experience weren't explored because right after that we jumped into our season finale, and although they informed Diego and the family of what's happened, it's still like you still don't feel the impact of what those years together did to them, right? And then there's a showdown between the family and the kaiju. There's a moment where Five goes back in time, yet tries again, and interrupted by the Council of Fives. Basically, what it is. He goes into diners, nothing but fives that have given up on trying to fix the timeline because they can't. Because every time they try to fix it, they break it. It's an endless loop. Fix, break, fix, break, fix, break, fix, break. When that's the light bulb hits. The problem is always the Umbrella Academy. So how do you fix that? You take them out of the equation. They get Peter Parkered. The only way to save them is to be absorbed by Ben and Jennifer, the kaiju, and be erased out of existence. Without them, there are no problems. And they allow themselves to. And that's a really touching scene. Like it is, like there's some jokes, but it could have been heavier. It could have had more, like even that felt off. Like it felt rushed. Only person that interacted with Ben was Victor. The whole family should have been interacting with him, trying to pull him, convince him of this mistake he was making. He fell for this Jennifer chick. And that was a really grotesque way of showing it too. Yeah, that one was okay, but not as heavy as it should have been. Hell, the only heavy scene was the very last scene. Like once they're erased from existence, a true timeline is created without them, and you see all these side characters that we've experienced over the years living normal lives and happy without the Umbrella Academy, including Lila's family, who were pulled out of the timeline before it collapsed and are the only ones aware of their existence, and they're living their life, right, as normal. Um, it was a shame. I really enjoyed this when it started. First two seasons were awesome. Season 3 was trash. Season 4 was worse. The only moment that got me was this last moment. They played a rendition, I think We're Alone Now, which has been the song that's carried the show from the very beginning, right? From the very, very beginning, literally. That iteration kind of got to me a little bit. And then we have an Easter egg with some marigolds growing out of the ground, one for each one of the members of the family. And the show ends with some behind the scenes pictures and whatnot. It could have been good. It could have been if they would have just given them some more time. All in all, I'd say, if you want to see how the show ends, watch it. Otherwise, you can skip it. It really doesn't have that much impact. Yeah. Now let's discuss the news tonight with your host, George Chico. Not too much on the news plate for tonight. There are a couple of things that have kind of been creeping out. So let's dive into it, right? One of the main storylines that's going on right now that's fucking apeshit crazy is the shit with Bo DeMayo. Man, I went from defending this guy now to like, ooh, what the hell? Like, so Bo DeMayo is the showrunner behind the greatness that is X-Men 97. However, right before it premiered, he was unexpectedly fired from the show and fired from season 2, even though he'd already pretty much finished most of season 2. He's been removed from that. And since then, he has tweeted here and there, evaded questions, stating the story will come out soon. Marvel hasn't acknowledged it whatsoever since. Neither has Jake Castrona or anybody else behind the show. Like they've all been quiet. So Probably means there was some kind of NDA that was implemented through whatever happened. Regardless, he's been supporting the show since then. Um, but recently, it looks like what really broke the camel's back was he was omitted from completely from season two. So they've taken his credits all off. Although he's fired, he was still going to be credited for season two. Now he's been removed from that. Um, and he went on a statement saying, that he was going to, it's time for him to speak his piece, blah, blah, blah. All this is going to come out like alluding to Marvel doing wrong with him. Well, Marvel said, well, fuck it. All right, you broke the NDA. Let's ball out and we'll go over what's going on. So let's go over the first statement from Marvel. Given the egregious nature of the findings, egregious nature of the findings, we severed ties with him immediately, and he has no further affiliation with Marvel. So DiMaio goes to his lawyer, comes back. Hold up, shouty. Having much experience with Disney, a playbook, blah, 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 that finds the truth and stops the employee customer from starting consultation. As we explained, though, detailed examples. The gaslighting and the redirection of the blame toward anyone willing to tell the truth starts through an international, well-oiled publicity machine. So they're basically trying to say that Disney was covering things up and the truth's going to come out because Disney is a corporation. That's what they do, right? And barely, Bo DiMaio wants nothing from Marvel except the truth. He will bravely tell the truth, and so will I, and I'll stand by. Okay, bet. Cool. So then he says that the reason he got fired was because during Pride Month. Hold on, let's take it back. He posted the other day on Instagram a depiction of Cyclops in just underwear and his visor, which is okay, right? Like, there's worse things on the internet and worse things other artists. Nothing wrong with that. But according to DeMayo, is the X-Men fan art I posted on Instagram for Gay Pride Month in June. On June 13th, Marvel sent a letter notifying me that they'd stripped me of season 2 credits due to that post. Apparently, due to that post. And Marvel said, no, that's not the reason why. The reason why is because apparently DeMayo had been sending sexually explicit pictures to staff on the show that were supposed to be ideas for some of the character drawings and illustrations, but it was DeMayo in weird poses and whatnot. He was asked to stop. He kept sending them. And from what I've read, this is part of something similar happened to him on The Witcher, in which he was doing the same kind of things on The Witcher. He wouldn't stop and he got fired. So it turns out that maybe DeMayo's been not so truthful himself. He also is allegedly sexually assaulted or hold on, I don't want to use the wrong words. Harassed. Maybe it was a sexual harassment. A member of the staff as well. I don't want to say assault. Sorry, I take that back. There's harassment as well. Anyways, it looks like he might be a little bit of a predator. Look, I know one of those kind of vibes. I don't know. I don't know at this point. And the reason I'm kind of caught in the middle is because generally, from what I've seen in past stories with other actors or anybody accusing these situations, there's a lot of bark to hide things, and I feel like that's what's going on here. There's like, trying to put the big guy Marvel and the dark or in that kind of like limelight so they can be discredited. But I mean, dude, if that's true, that's fucked up. Like, if you're asked to stop sending the shit, stop. If you're harassing people, like, stop. Like, that's not cool behavior no matter where you're at. And that puts a stain on the show. Clearly, we're going to get some more answers, but it looks like that shit's just getting messier and messier. Also in the House of Mouse, my movie has now taken over the number one spot in history for an R-rated movie, and that's Deadpool and Wolverine. They have surpassed every movie that ever had an R rating. They have grossed $1.78 billion worldwide, which surpassed the Joker. Which honestly, I don't think it should have made that much money. That's an overhyped ass fucking movie. But damn, 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 damn. It just keeps going and going and going, man. Props to Marvel for this shit. Props to freaking Ryan, Hugh, and um, Sean Levy, like everyone behind the movie. Like, props to you guys. That movie was fantastic. One of my favorite movies of the year. One of my favorite Marvel properties to date, and as entertaining as it fucking gets. So well deserved. Good job, guys. And also, we got a little bit of a teaser to Last of Us season 2. Not a full out trailer, but enough to kind of get you weepy. It's at the very, it's at the tail end of filming, so we'll get a full trailer pretty soon once it wraps up. But the teaser enough was whew, pulls on the hearts because if you've played the game, you know what's on the horizon. You know what's about to be felt. I personally cannot wait for that. Alien Earth has also dropped a little bit of a teaser. If you stick around to watch, if you watch Alien Romulus in theater, some theaters are showing some art, but there's a little tag at the beginning, tag at the end with it's not even a really an end credit. Like it's literally just a commercial for Alien Earth, which I'm stoked to because Alien Romulus was greatness, as I've already talked about before here in this episode. So that's coming up soon. Last of Us, like I said, can't wait for that. I loved this video game when it came out back in the day. I feel like it's very underrated. Eternal Champions was dope. Basically, it was a fighter that took all these fucked up people in different time frames out of their timelines after they died. Um, has some really cool characters, really cool gameplay, and a really interesting storyline. Like, it was legit, and it's still one of my favorite games to play anytime I can. But essentially, the story is unjust deaths were dealt upon nine of history's greatest and most influential warriors, and the future now stands at the brink of chaos. The Eternal Champions, our guys, has summoned the souls of the nine and placed them in competition. The winner will be rewarded a second chance to prevent their own death, and in doing so, restore balance to a desperate world. That was a synopsis. It was a lot of fun. Really cool fatalities in the movie, really cool fighting mechanics, and now it looks like it's going to be giving freaking live action life. And it's being written by the writer of Jurassic World. Hopefully, it doesn't bomb like Borderlands did. Oh, by the way, that's part of the news. That shit fucking trashed. That was one of the biggest L's in this year and in history, all across the board. Horrible numbers, horrible reviews, just horrible. Glad I didn't watch it. Toru Nakahara will oversee the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, will act as one of the film's producers. But it's cool, man. I think this could be a really entertaining movie if done right. Right? If you keep with the tones, keep the fighting mechanics where they were. Like, don't go too crazy with it. Again, the game alone had a great storyline, so you can just stick to that. It should have a great adaptation. But it should be fun, man. I can't wait to see that either. But that's about all I got, man. Not a lot of news, like I said. Right now, it's been pretty quiet, especially after San Diego Comic Con and D23. But as the news comes along, I'll keep you in the loop because that's what I do. Once again, peeps, I appreciate you tuning in and checking out the podcast. It is a work in progress, so any and all feedback is always appreciated. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe. All the norms to help me spread my wings and fly. And also, swag still available. The link's in the bio. But get yourself one of these badass shirts designed by Ma. and support the show. See you next time. Appreciate you.